Hello, Barklord. Um, I liked your last video, so I thought I would make a response. Again, I'm gonna try to make some more videos, and so I wanted to talk about science and meta excuse me, science and metaphysics, and the kind of debate that's going on here. Um, see, I studied philosophy in school, and I got my master's in it, so I'm gonna like metaphysics a lot, obviously, just because I studied it, and I think analytic philosophy has a lot of good things to say. But I like metaphysics, and I don't think all metaphysical statements are nonsense or don't make any sense at all. So I think I like existentialism and phenomenology a lot also. So I think metaphysics is plays an important role in just intellectual endeavors, I suppose. I think in this debate, I think one of the problems is that it's it's more like metaphysics and scientism have come into conflict, but not metaphysics and science. Because if you think that science can offer all answers to all questions, then that's a problem. Or if you think metaphysics can offer all answers to all questions, then that's a problem also. Because both fields kind of like have their uh, kind of area of expert or area that they're expert can kind of go into and expertise, I suppose. But then I think to say that they are going to one side is going to completely rule out the other kind of creates these false dichotomies, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about. I think one of the problems with YouTube and society in general is that there's a lot of false dichotomies that get created, and so people often don't have a lot of nuance in their arguments, so whether it's in metaphysics or science, I think both these subjects have their places in the world. um, so I think whether we're a naturalist or a metaphysician, we both sort of areas have their place in the academic world. I remember last year actually read a book by Michael Shermer. He was the founder of Skeptic magazine. He's been in a lot of debates with different theists, and he's a pretty smart guy. And I read his book, The Believing Brain. It's about how our own cognitive biases sort of weigh heavily on our view on reality. Our own belief system comes before reality gets filtered in. And yeah, I really like the book. I thought it's an important book. I mean, I do think like in philosophy, they've already noticed this, But anyways, I wanted to read a quote from the book. It says, um, this is kind of the thesis of the book from The Believing Brain by Shermer, and he says, we form our beliefs for a variety of subjective, personal, emotional, and psychological reasons in the context of environments created by family, friends, colleagues, culture, and society at large. After forming our beliefs, we then defend, justify, and rationalize them with a host of intellectual reasons, cogent arguments, and rational explanations. Beliefs come first, explanations for beliefs follow. I call this process belief-dependent realism, where our perceptions about reality are dependent on the beliefs that we hold about reality. Reality exists independent of human minds, but our understanding of it depends upon the beliefs we hold at any given time. I think this is really true, what Shermer is getting at here. I think we have a tendency to sort of somehow think that, our own viewpoints are somehow getting to the objective truth of reality, whether it's metaphysics or through science. I mean, yeah, like Thomas Kuhn, he wrote the Structures of Scientific Revolutions, and I think he really shattered that notion that science is getting at objective truth. A big part of science is fallibilism. So it's like you're constantly having to revise your kind of opinion because you're not getting at the objective truth. And I think, it is a problem with metaphysics too, that they kind of think they're getting at somehow they've gotten to the objective truth. But I think, neither side has an absolute claim on what the truth is, because we're so weighed heavily by our own cognitive biases. Weighed down heavily, excuse me, weighed down heavily by our own cognitive biases. Um, so, yeah, I think these arguments require a lot of nuance, and you know, I remember, one of my favorite philosophers is Heidegger, actually. And his task, uh, he was doing phenomenology and ontology, but his mentor was Husserl, and Husserl he's um, kind of he's a phenomenologist. But the thing with Heidegger said that we're not doing presuppositionalist phenomenology. We're doing hermeneutical phenomenology because we're so biased by our cultural background and our kind of upbringing. And it's basically the same thing Shermer is getting at. I mean, Heidegger got at it 80 years before, and he just noticed it, and he was just doing an ontology of what it means to be docile, is the word Heidegger used. But yeah, Shermer's noticing it also. But yeah, I think, and Thomas Kuhn noticed it just towards science. But I think, so when we get in these debates and then we kind of like, we have our own subjective biases and we might want to be more of a metaphysician or we might want to be more of a naturalist for whatever reasons. Maybe it has to do with our upbringing or different educational experiences we've had. I don't know, it's hard to say exactly. But I think, so then we're going to see the world through those lenses and it's going to be kind of uh, like looking through a glass darkly, like in the Bible, like uh, like looking through a glass darkly. It's the quote I think from the Bible. But anyways, so we have no real ability to kind of I think see clearly. I'm not even sure how we would see clearly. I don't know. Yeah, but anyways, so I think the thing is, I guess I'm trying to get at is like we to have these debates. I think instead of taking like a firm stand, always on one side or the other, I think we need to try to like have more intellectual nuance. I mean, I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm just saying people in general. But another one of my favorite philosophers. He's not a metaphysician or a positivist, but Isaiah Berlin. He was an ethicist, and he was also a political philosopher. But he wrote about value pluralism, and I think and although he's talking about ethics, I think this can apply to metaphysics and naturalism because I think, excuse me, I think both these concepts, metaphysics or naturalism, are both really important and have their place in the world. But there's no objective way to sort of say which one's going to be better in any given circumstance. There's no cookie cutter answer. We have to kind of analyze each situation on its own and then say, okay, well, we might take more of a metaphysical approach here, or we might want to take more of a naturalistic approach. Like a question like, why is there something rather than nothing? I think, that's a question I don't know how you would answer through naturalism. But I mean, I don't know. Some people might just say, well, that's a nonsensical question. I know that's what Richard Dawkins says. But I don't think that's fair because I've asked myself that question and I don't feel like it's a nonsensical question. I know YouTube tends to be more atheistic, which is fine. But I think, to totally rule out metaphysics, I mean, I know you like metaphysics and I like metaphysics too. I don't think it's fair at all. But I'm not going to completely rule out naturalism either. So I think, we have to take a more pluralistic approach to these questions instead of a monistic approach, and I think and a more nuanced approach, like whatever the subject is, whether it's religion or politics or whatever the subject is, it's like we're going to have to kind of have a more nuanced, pluralistic approach, I think. And I think, yeah, I thought of one last metaphor. Um, I thought of like a bulldozer and a scalpel. A lot of people are just like when they don't agree with something, it's like they're just bulldozing through everything they don't like. But I think like we have to be more like a doctor, and we got to get a scalpel in there and just kind of pick out the little things we don't like, so we don't get rid of all these other parts that are still important or valid. A more nuanced. We got to have a scalpel instead of just a bulldozer, and a more nuanced approach. Like I know President Obama, he was talking about the oil prices that are happening now, and he was saying, well, there's no silver bullets, and I agree with him. Like, we need a scalpel. We can't. We're gonna have to do like 6 different things to kind of get at sort of a more coherent version of truth or something, or or a more nuanced epistemology. Yeah, I mean, I think to think that, I think like I was saying, the structures of scientific revolutions by Thomas Kuhn. To think that science is just getting at a sort of an objective truth, I think is a pretty naive view of what science is. But anyways, the point is, I was trying to say in this video is just, I think we're so biased that it's hard to see kind of clearly, and so I think because of that, we have to kind of like try to have more like epistemic humility and a more nuanced approach to how we kind of talk about issues. But anyways, I liked your video again, and I think it's an interesting topic, and I think Isaiah Berlin would be good, uh, sort of or a or pluralistic approach, like in value pluralism, would be kind of a good approach I think to take when discussing when the ideas, because it's like more than one answer. There's more than one way to, I guess, skin a cat ultimately. Anyways, thanks. Okay, bye.